Life Unrehearsed, brought to you by Lianas Senior Transition Support, helping you navigate home care and senior residences.
And good afternoon. Welcome to Life Unrehearsed. My name is Matt Delvecchio, specializing in life transitions, elder care planning, and the senior living industry.
And I'm Corrie Matt, a clinical social worker and psychotherapist specializing in grief and loss.
Coming up on the first half of today's show, meet the world-renowned hip-hop veteran and turntablist, DJ Killa-Jewel. She was way ahead of her time, as she's been doing it for 25 years. Can't wait to have her, a unique guest here on Life Unrehearsed. Now, Corrie, before that, any plans for Halloween?
Personally, no. But I'll call it professionally. I'm hosting a Myra's Kids Foundation Halloween family party. We're doing that tomorrow at the funeral home, recognizing that every holiday can be a challenge for bereaved families. So we do invite them together to have our own family event. And so mask painting and face painting and a little bit of chat, a little bit of memory board, lighting candles, etc., etc. But that's what we'll do. And maybe I'll even wear a costume, Matt. What about you?
Well, like you, no, we're not going out for Halloween. I'm just going to dress as the grumpy old man handing out candy on Monday night. So that's what I'll be doing. But interesting, I was out, I went to Walmart today to buy the candy.
Right.
And did that, and as I was leaving, there was a vet already starting, with the poppies, and I was with another gentleman that I happened to know the other gentleman that was with the vet. He goes, Matt, this fella here, Maxwell, 97-year-old vet that was in D-Day, was wow. Was there when it happened, and such a lovely gentleman, 97 years old, put the poppy on me, and really special, and it was kind of sad in a sense. 97. I mean, there's not going to be too many more years left of these vets that talk from first-hand experience. So, support the vets. We'll be talking a little bit more on next week's show about the vets. As far as Halloween, just to hand out candies on Monday night. What do we have coming up on the second half, Corrie?
On the second half of Life Unrehearsed, we'll learn about residences that specialize in palliative care. Really, this is the little known treasures of our community, and they are so important that we make them known. Yeah, absolutely. We wanted to just bring awareness to this. It's usually a taboo subject, but Corrie, that we deal with taboo subjects on Life Unrehearsed, and wanted to get some awareness out to these little known treasures. That's coming up on the second half. So let's start off, though, because I have been so excited since I saw the post about a month ago, 2 months ago. I was reminded, oh my gosh, she does this. That's right. So I happen to know her personally, but we're going to talk with DJ Killa-Jewel, 25-year veteran of the underground hip-hop scene and Turntablist community. DJ Killa-Jewel has rocked the decks across North America, Europe, and Asia at some of the most prestigious clubs, concerts, and festivals to date. After years that have spent fusing hip-hop with theater milieu by composing turntable music live for theatrical, I can't even say it, theatrical productions, and touring extensively with Canadian actor and director Robert Lepage. She released her first album, I'm not going to pronounce it, So Daddy, in 2014. Her most recent EP, Sagittarius, was in 2021, which she has just been nominated for a GAMIQ award. She's going to have to tell us what that stands for. Sorry for butchering that introduction. I'm just too excited. Welcome to Life Unrehearsed, DJ Killa-Jewel, a.k.a. Julie Fainer.
Thank you so much for having me.
So let's start off, because I'm sure our listeners want to know, I do. How did you get started even in this industry?
Well, that's a very good question. As you said, I started 25 years ago, and that was around the time where I had just met my first boyfriend, who happened to be a DJ. He was an amazing teacher, and I had just finished actually 10 years of classical piano, so I had a great backbone in terms of understanding music and theory and rhythm and structure. And as a teenager, I really felt like DJing was, the next cool thing, and there really weren't that many girls doing it at the time either. And it's just something I fell in love with, technically from a technical standpoint and also from a musical standpoint as well.
Julie, doing this for 25 years, which is amazing, way ahead of your time. So you're going to help settle a debate here between me and Corrie, because there's a term that's new to me. I'm an old fogey here. A turntablist. How do we pronounce it, and what is it?
A turntablist. A turntablist is a DJ that manipulates the record and the sound on the record on a turntable using the help of a mixer which cuts the sound in and out. And when you move the record back and forth, whether it's slow or fast, and cut the sound in and out at the same time, it creates different rhythms and different melodies. And it's actually an art form. It's considered an art form amongst people in the hip-hop music world, because you're basically taking a turntable and turning it into a musical instrument.
Incredible. That is the voice of DJ Killa-Jewel, a.k.a. Julie Fainer. You're listening to Life Unrehearsed. I'm Corrie Serrato with Matt Del Vecchio, and we're talking about this rather very unique profession. So you mentioned a little bit about how your first boyfriend was a DJ, but there had to be more to, you're just talking some of this technical terms. I fully do not understand it, but how did you learn to do it?
So it was really a hands-on experience. Back in the day when I started, there was no social media, there was no YouTube, there were no videos as we know today from which you could just, press play and learn a technique or learn a skill. So a lot of the way that we learned as DJs was really community-based. It was getting together with fellow musicians and fellow DJs and really learning off of each other face-to-face. And that's really how it all started. I mean, the more you start, what we call jamming with other people, the more you learn from them. And it was really just a shared kind of experience right from the beginning.
Going back and listening to you here, we're talking 24, 25 years ago when you're starting this, Julie, and probably like many other people your age at the time, I could do this, but you actually did it. You made a difference, and I'm just very intrigued about your journey, your trajectory, and how the success happened.
I would say it was really a natural progression. One thing led to another. When you have a passion for something, you tend to do it a lot. And I was practicing about 3 to 4, sometimes 5 hours a day as a student. And I started playing house parties, and I just started DJing for small little events for my friends. And one thing led to another. I started playing bars and clubs, and I realized pretty quickly that I could actually make money doing this. So, as a young person, to be able to make money doing what you love, it was a fun and exciting experience.
So amazing.
Yeah.
And good that you were able to do it and continue it on. I got to ask you. Mm-hmm. How did you even come up with the name Killa-Jewel?
That's a very good question. So I actually remember the moment when I came up with it. I was sitting on the front steps of my mother's house. And, all DJs have DJ names. And a lot of us actually only know each other by our DJ names, which is really funny. So I said, look, I need to come up with one myself. So what would make sense for me? And I was trying to think of characteristics that really relate to me as a person. So I thought, well, I'm a really energetic person, and a kilojoule, a kJ, is a measurement of energy. So I said, why don't I take that word, make it a play on words? My real name is Julie, so Jewel, Julie. And the Killa part was really a part of me that loved to compete and had a very competitive nature. So I just changed the spelling, Killajewel, and voila, it stuck.
Well, there you go, Corrie. Yeah. You're listening to Life Unrehearsed with Matt and Corrie, and you just heard how DJ Killa-Jewel got her name, also known as Julie Fainer. You've traveled all over the place, all over the world, prestigious clubs, done concerts, festivals. When we come back, we want to ask you about what would be your most memorable and interesting one that you actually attended?
Welcome back to Life Unrehearsed. I'm Corrie Sirota, along with my co-host Matt Del Vecchio, and we are talking with DJ Killa-Jewel about her rather unique profession and the trajectory over the years of, I imagine, how it has changed. We want to hear more about that. But first, you have been all over the world, many clubs, concerts, festivals. I would love to hear about maybe what one of there's probably many, but one of your most memorable or interesting experiences.
Absolutely.
And keep it G-rated, please. We're on the radio.
Yeah, of course. Well, there definitely have been a handful, but I have to say one of the most rock star moments that I felt I experienced in my career was I was playing with two different bands, French band, Les Respectables, and Okume at the Festival d'été at Quebec. And it was in front of a crowd of at least 50,000 people. And I was the first, as their DJ, to walk onto the stage right before the show started. And the second I walked onto the stage, the crowd started going wild, and I felt the energy in the air hitting my skin, and it really felt like I was being blown back by the excitement of the crowd. And it was that one moment, literally just walking on stage, getting to my position, that to me was one of the first most memorable moments of my career.
It must have been something else. You know, one thing talking about it, but to actually experience it and being there, and good on you, and I'm sure well deserved. You know, you've put out a few albums, and I'm just so intrigued about that actual process. And can you tell us about the albums that you've released in your 25-year career?
Absolutely. So the first record I put out, I had been producing for a good 5-6 years. It took me a while because I was literally teaching myself how to write and record music. But this has always been a goal of mine as a DJ. I always imagined myself as a producer, and it was a natural transition for me. So my first record called Saudade, and it's hard to pronounce. There's actually no literal translation into English. It's a Portuguese word that describes the feeling of nostalgia and longing for something. And when I was searching for the samples and the sounds that I was going to put on this record, I was on tour at the time, and I was traveling many different countries. So hence the title of the record. That record, unfortunately, I couldn't release into the mainstream media because of all the samples I was using. But to me, that was my first full-length solo LP. My next record I put out, I collaborated with a number of different artists. The EP is called Reckless, and you can find it on Apple and Spotify. That was, again, an attempt as an independent artist to put out a project, and I'm very proud of that project. The last project I put out, I actually managed to sign my first record deal with Hydrophonic Records during the pandemic. And so this is my first EP out on a record label. The record is called Sagittarius. For anybody who's wondering, I am a Sagittarius. And this record is a mix of electronic and turntablist hip-hop sounds as well. So it's a bit more instrumental, but I'm also singing on it. So that's new for me as well.
Ooh, singing! Yet another hidden talent. This is getting more and more interesting as we chat. You mentioned something about sample music and all the different kinds of pieces that you're putting together. I was curious about who your influences were and maybe why those individuals or that music influenced you.
Well, first and foremost, because I know she's listening, my mom, Sandy Phelan, she is an artist in her own right. So I've definitely inherited the artist, musician side of her. So thank you, Mom, for that. But definitely there have been other DJs who have influenced me in many ways, one of whom I would have to say is Kid Koala, who is also from Montreal. And he's inspired me as a DJ when it comes to using my turntablist techniques in a musical way, he's, to me, one of the greatest pioneers of using the turntable as an instrument. So definitely shout out to Kid Koala. And DJ Qbert, who was one of the first DJs that I ever saw when I started, who was putting out instructional videos for people like me who are just beginning. He is also one of my greatest inspirations as well.
Nice to have the inspirations and influencers in your life. This is Life Unrehearsed. Matt Delvecchio here with Corrie Sirota, and we're talking with DJ Killa-Jewel, also known as Julie Fainer for others. And I want to focus on the Julie Fainer part here, Julie, because I'm so intrigued. It's such an interesting field that you've chosen. How was the reaction? You talked about mom just now. Like, what's the family reaction for you being in this field?
To be honest, I've received nothing but support from my family, from my friends over the years. I remember when I was still living at my mom's house, I took over the entire corner of the basement with all of my DJ gear, but I was pretty respectful because for the most part, I think I rehearsed everything in my headphones, so nobody actually had to listen to me practice 5 hours a day. But yes, so it's. Sorry, repeat the question.
No, you just that your family, is so supportive of you, and because it could go the other way.
That's right.
Absolutely, yeah. And I'm very thankful for everybody around me who has only just ever lifted me up and cheered me on, and I've very thankful.
Actually, curious. You just mentioned something. Is this profession very competitive?
It is. It is a very competitive industry. In fact, the whole hip-hop world, in terms of the music and the culture, is based on battling and competing. And that's really how a lot of DJs and a lot of rappers and a lot of dancers, that's how the culture works, and that's how we all get better. It's a friendly kind of place to have a friendly competition. And for me, I use the DJ battle as a way to improve my own skill set. So yes.
Yeah, no, fantastic. We have to wrap it up quite quickly here, but you talked about it being competitive, and I really take my hat off to you, because there's one thing about dreaming and talking about it and hypotheticals, and you actually did it. There are many, many people that were in your shoes or are in your shoes. What would you suggest to those that are considering the DJ turntablist field that you have chosen?
I would suggest to absolutely surround yourself with other people who are just as passionate about it as you are. It's an amazing experience when you can learn from somebody else. And, these days with technology and social media at our fingertips, we can stay in our bedrooms all day and learn from videos, but there's nothing like getting together with someone else who shares that same passion with you, and learning from each other. So that would definitely be a number one for me.
Well, that is very sage advice, and I appreciate hearing that, especially in such a tech world that we live in. So I have to thank you so much for agreeing to come on, sharing your wisdom and your journey with us. That's DJ Killa-Jewel that you're listening to on Life Unrehearsed. Julie, how can people hear your music?
Yes, people can go to either my website, www.killajewel.com, KILLAJEWEL, or they can go to Spotify, iTunes, wherever they usually listen to stream their music, and you can find me online.
Wonderful. We want to thank you, Julie, and appreciate you taking some time here on a Saturday.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right. That's Julie Fainer, also known as DJ Killa-Jewel. Corrie, what do we have coming up on the second half of Life Unrehearsed?
Coming up on Life Unrehearsed, residences that specialize in palliative care are little known trends.